Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing, all the way from Lithuania. Lovely place. I'm in Kaunas at the moment. I love Lithuania. I love all those Baltic states. And if you get a chance, go there because it's, real great history there. Lovely sort of old town areas and brilliant places to visit. Gorgeous weather as well in September. I wouldn't have believed it. Lovely, sort of strong breeze, but very sunny and quite hot. I'm having the time of my life. Anyway, enough boasting. Let me talk about I think it's a very strange fight. It's on the undercard of Canelo versus Edgar Berlanga. And it's between the 41-year-old Erislandy Lara, formerly from Cuba. I think he's now a US citizen, resides in Texas. Berlanga seems to have been around forever. Like I say, he's 41 years old. He's knocking on a bit, isn't he? But he turned pro in 2008, so we're talking 16 years ago. And in those 16 years, he's only managed to accumulate 36 fights, 30 wins with, I think it's 18 KOs, three defeats. They're all on points, and 3 draws. And he is the current WBA middleweight champion. He held the regular version of the title for a couple of years, beat a few half-decent people. But then in his last fight against Michael Zarafa of Australia, he knocked Zarafa out in 2 rounds. And that was for the full-fat version of the title, if you like. They'd upped him from regular champ to the proper champion. You know what the WBA are like. All sorts of nonsense goes on. And I don't. Anyway, he's the WBA champion, proper champion, supposedly, anyway. And he takes on Danny Garcia, of all people, at middleweight. Now, Garcia, this really did come out of left field, didn't it, with Garcia? Because he's got, 37 wins and 3 defeats. But he spent most of his main triumphs have been at 10 stone. Knocked out Amir Khan, wasn't it, with that big left hook, and was it the 4th round? Made several defences. Has moved up to welterweight. Fought Errol Spence in 2020, 2022, something like that. Lost that fight. Gave Spence a good fight. That was at welter. But looked a bit too small at welter, to be honest with you. Definitely 140 was where he made most of a splash. And since then, he's really done nothing at all. Thinking about this now, I think the Spence defeat was in 2020. Excuse me, because then he fought Jose Benavidez Jr. in 2022. So we had about 18 months off. He fought Jose Benavidez Jr., who came in with 27 wins, 1 draw and 1 defeat. That was in 2022, and he won that fight on a majority decision over 12. Now that was 2 years, like I said, 2 years ago. I think it was just over 2 years ago. So suddenly he's getting a shot at the WBA middleweight title by jumping to middleweight and hasn't fought in 2 years. So he's had 2 fights in about 4 years, the Spence defeat and the Benavidez Jr. victory, which was a close one, at least on the cards. And now he's fighting Lara. And how old is Danny? He's got to be pushing his mid-30s now. Like I say, this is such a strange matchup. Now, you have to take into consideration the fact that Erislandy Lara is now 41. So he's very much a veteran. And he does seem to have adapted his style. That is to say, he's become more of a flat-footed puncher type, whereas beforehand he was very much a pure boxer. And quite dull to watch. I don't think he made much of a splash with the fans, even though he was winning titles. I think he also held the WBA light middleweight title as well at one point. But when you look at his opponents, he has fought some good men. He's fought, recently he's beaten people like Spike O'Sullivan, who he stopped in 8 rounds. He did beat Canelo Alvarez's older brother, Raymond Alvarez, stopped him in 2 rounds. I think that's when he won the regular WBA belt at, I want to say, 154. But if you go back a little bit further, I mean, his last defeat was to Jarrett Hurd, which is quite surprising considering that Jarrett Hurd's career went off the rails. But at the time, he was very much a big 11-stone tough guy, Jarrett Hurd, and he managed to outmuscle Lara, who at the time was still in that boxer mode. You know, he hadn't really started to plant his feet more like he has recently over the last couple of years. And Hurd won a split decision over him. That was his last defeat, Lara. And that was back in 2018, so that was six years ago. And I think afterwards he fought Brian Castano, who at the time was undefeated, and Castano drew with him. That was a split draw, if memory serves. Yeah, I remember that fight. Yeah, split draw. Yeah, it was. And then, I mean, if you go back, like I say, he's turned pro 16 years ago. So you've got people like Terrell Gausha, who he beat on points. That was a unanimous decision. Yuri Foreman, Aisha Smith, he won a decision over him. If you go back to his defeat before the Jarrett Hurd fight, that would be the Canelo Alvarez fight, which a lot of people thought he won. Now, that was a split decision to Canelo. By the way, that was 10 years ago. That was 2014. 10 years ago. Christ. And a lot of people thought that Lara won that fight. And I have to be honest, I did too. I thought he won that fight. I can't remember, 10 years ago. But I think I might have had 116, 112 or something like that. Certainly 115, 130. But I definitely thought Lara won. A lot of people say no. A lot of people say, no, Canelo won that fight because he was landing the bigger punches. The meatier work was done by Canelo. And Lara did way too much running, way too much moving. The thing about Lara was, before he started to get flat-footed and punch more, which again has only come over the last 2 or 3 years, he was a runner, he was a mover, but he would nitpick away and pinch rounds. And although a lot of judges don't like that Cuban boxing style, it's not very attractive to judges. But if you score a fight on punches landed, I know the quality of the punch and the weight of the punch has to come into it. But if you're just going on scoring punches, I know it's not amateur boxing, but nevertheless, you can give people with that style rounds if that's what you're looking for. Again, if you score a fight, it is subjective to a point, but you have to be consistent from round after round. You know what I mean? You can't just say, well, I'll have this criteria for this round, and then the following round I've changed my criteria. You're moving the goalposts. You've got to be consistent in what you're looking for, in order to be fair. But Lara, even though he lost that Alvarez fight, I mean, the Austin Trout fight, that was a unanimous decision for Lara. Some people thought Trout won that fight. I can't remember what I thought of that fight, to be honest. I know it was boring. And he's beaten people like Vanes Martirosyan. I know did he draw with Martirosyan? I know he fought him. Anyway, he fought him at some point. He's fought Alfredo Angulo, who he stopped in 10. Angulo used to ship some punishment. My God. Guy was like a sponge soaking up power. So, yeah, you go way back. There was a majority draw to Carlos Molina at some point. That must have been 12 years ago, 13 years ago, something like that. So he's fought all of them. He's fought all of them, Lara. And at 41, yes, there is a chance that he might unravel or he could get old. But like I say, we're talking about him going in there with a guy whose best days were at 140. So he's 20 pounds up in the air now, Garcia. And he's fighting a guy who has looked like a bit of a puncher in recent times. I mean, he did it to Zerafa. He knocked him out in 2 rounds. It was quite impressive because the first round, I mean, I think people were booing in the first round, and suddenly out of the boo in the second round, Lara let some punches go and turned nasty. And Zerafa is a decent sort of fringe world level fighter. I thought Lara would win that fight, but I didn't think Zerafa would go out in 2 rounds. And then you've got, Spike O'Sullivan, he'll give you a fight if you let him. I know he got blown away by the Canadian fella, David Lemieux. He got blown away in a round by him. But if he can settle into a fight, he'll give you some rounds. And he got stopped in 8. And like I say, Raymond Alvarez got done in 2. For the last 3 years, maybe a little more, he's turned into a bit of a banger as Lara. And I think perhaps that is because, when you consider he's got I think it's about 4 out of the last 5 fights have been stoppages for him. When you consider that, it's really probably down to his 41 years of age. He can't move as well as he used to, or as quickly as he used to, and his reflexes are perhaps half a beat slower than they were. So now he's got to find some power, and the power has probably always been there. Now, put that together with someone who's had 2 fights in 4 years, is really a 140-pounder, 147 tops, tough kid, himself not getting any younger. I mean, we're talking about, Lara's age. Let's talk about Garcia's age. Was he 30? I want to say he's about 34, but I could be wrong. I didn't check before I did the video. I should have done. But he's the inexperience and the complete lack of any experience at this weight, 160, leads me to feel that as tough as he is, Garcia, this might be the first stoppage defeat of his career. If Lara decides he wants to go for it, if Lara decides he wants to get physical and again, put some punches together, try and stop him, there's no doubt in my mind that Lara can outbox Garcia. The question is, will he stop him? And I see this as the bigger man just having his way with the much smaller guy and outboxing him, probably winning almost all the rounds. I don't know. Will he stop him or not? It wouldn't surprise me remotely if Lara stopped Garcia because of the size difference. But taking into consideration, and also the lack of activity from Garcia is a real downer. Can he stop him? Yeah, I'll stick my neck out. I was going to go for points, but no, I've got a hunch that Lara might just stop Garcia. But I don't think it'll be early. I think he'll chop him up, probably keep the heat on him. I think his activity, the fact that he has fought, he's fought this year anyway, which is, the Zerafa fight, and that was only 2 rounds, but I'll go, no, go on what the hell, I'll go for a stoppage in 10 rounds. I think he's just too big, too slick, too accurate, and Garcia, I think, will be a step behind him. I think Garcia might try to be front-footed. I don't think it'll work. I think Lara's still got enough wherewithal to move enough anyway. And I think he will. You might see a corner retirement actually after 10 rounds. Corner retirement after 10 rounds is going to be my pick for Lara to win. But we'll see. But it's a strange one, this. Anyway, look, quite a long video, this, because it is such an odd fight. But let me know what you think. I mean, clearly Garcia doesn't deserve the shot at the title. He hasn't done anything. He's never fought at middleweight before. I guess it's a PBC thing, they're like. But let me know what you think. And let me know what you think of Lara. Let me know what you think of Garcia. I thought Garcia had retired. That's how inactive he is. Honestly, Ed. But let me know let me know what you think. Comments below as normal. Please, if you're new to the channel, you could subscribe. That would be a big help. Hit the subscribe button. And also the like button. They count them, apparently. I don't know why, but they do. Anyway, Much love to all of you. I'm having fun in Lithuania. I hope you're doing well. Catch you later. Bye for now.